Hi, how you doing? Today I want to show my clef, the clef I invented. I call it System C Clef Notation. I took all the clefs that are presently known or used and cleaned them all up and threw some away, and I ended up with my C Clef. All right? Here's a picture of it. This is a C clef. This symbol here is C-shaped, and that's a clef indicator. That tells you that it's a C clef. The 5 is a pitch indicator. That tells you that the note written in this space will make the tone at the pitch of C5. All right. Here's another example. This is the clef indicator, the C shape. The number is the pitch indicator. And as I said, this 5 means the tone that you hear will be a C5. Down here is another C clef. This is called the C3 low clef because the 3 is in this space, all right, not this space. And this is the clef indicator, the C, and this is the pitch indicator. That makes it very clear. And if I use any printed music from my templates, you'll see this thin line here is called a common line that joins your staves, joins them together to make a staff system. And also you have a brace line, which I kind of used a long time ago, decades ago, and now I see other people are using it. And I call it a brace line. I don't know what they call it. That's the heavier line there. But that also joins these two staves together. It makes it very clear. For example, like if you wrote a piano part or an accordion part, you would see a staff system like this. In fact, back in the day, if you just give me a second. I know that was weird walking away. But you'll see a notated music. You'll see this, which is common, the treble and the bass clef. And I have replaced that with my System C Clefs. Okay, now I bring this up and I do this video because this is what I'll be doing when I do my scale and chord videos. I'll be using my own clefs so you don't get confused. And I hope that down the road, at some point, you will use these clefs too. So they start getting out there. So the word spreads. And I got rid of the G clefs and the F clefs completely. But there used to be C clefs, and there were 5 of them. There were 5 clefs and only 2 remain. One of the remaining C clefs is the C alto clef. It looks like this. It's a goofy thing. It has 2 backward C's in it. And this clef would let you know that the note written on that line represents the tone that you would hear at C4. But nowadays, okay, in these modern times, they use it only for viola parts written for viola, and they don't even use it for the alto voice. Okay? Then you have the other remaining C clef, the C tenor clef, and it looks like this. It's up 1 space higher than this one, and that tells you that any note written on that line will make the tone C4. All right, you see the difference? This one's positioned between all the lines neatly. This one's raised up a little bit. But this clef is presently used only for high parts written for the bassoon, tenor trombone, cello, and bass. It's not even used for tenor voice. In other words, voice parts, singing. They use the treble or the G clef. That's what they use. So these were the 2 remaining C clefs. You might see them out there somewhere. So I got rid of all of them. I got rid of the G and F clefs first, okay? Or the treble, you might call them treble clefs, but I got rid of the treble clefs. Here's the one that tells you that number 15 tells you that these tones will be 2 octaves higher than your regular treble clef. This tells you that your tones will be 1 octave higher than your regular treble or G clef. And this tells you that your tones will be, see that 8 down below? That your tones will be 1 octave lower than your regular treble or G clef. And here's my System C clefs that correspond to the traditional ones. All right? You'll get to see more of this later. But for now, I'm just showing you what I did and the stuff that I trashed. And I trashed all the F or bass clefs, whatever you want to call them. Here's the one you're familiar with, the F clef. This 8 above there means these tones will be an octave higher than this one. This 8 here denotes that the tones written here will be an octave lower than they would here. And then this 15 below the clef denotes that the tones will be 2 octaves lower than what you hear on here. Now, as it relates to the accordion, this clef doesn't apply. It's too low. The notes are too low. But this one here you could kind of call the bass clef. If you keep in mind the reed sets that I mentioned many times, okay, see the ranges? If you remember the reed set ranges, you'll see that this could be called the accordion bass clef. This for the accordion. This could be called the tenor bass clef. This could be called the alto bass clef. And then on the treble or G clef side, you could say, you know what? This doesn't apply. The range is too high. This could be called the soprano clef. This could be called the alto soprano G clef. And this could be called the contralto tenor G clef or treble clef. So you see, as it relates to the accordion, you would be able to use 3 of these and not this one. And for the bass clef, you would be able to use 3 of these and not this one. And here's the counterparts. My clef, the C clef, my counterparts. So let's take a look at that again. You'll be seeing these papers when I do my chord videos, because I'll write chords on here. You have your clef indicator that clearly indicates it's a C clef. Your pitch indicator that clearly indicates that the tone that you hear from the note written in this space, all right, will be a C5. And I don't know if you've been paying attention in my other videos, but I'm trying my best to use the word note to represent the written note. You can see it, you can read it, but you can't hear it. It doesn't make a sound. The sound that you hear from your instrument is the tone. It's an anagram. It's the same letters. It's an anagram, but I try to speak clearly so that you know the difference between a note and a tone and can process what I'm saying. And I think that's it. So you'll be seeing my clef in my videos. When I talk about chords, I'll be writing them on here. And also for scales, I'll have one of these kind of charts like this, and I'll be putting my scales on there. And maybe you'll like the clef and maybe start using it or telling your friends, because you don't need all those other clefs anymore. You just don't need them. I explain this in my book, and I'll explain it further if anybody has any interest. It's obvious from the chart if I hold this up and you study it or pause your video. But you see, these are what we call the C high clefs, because the 7, 6, 5, and 4, the pitch indicators, are written in this space here. Okay? That tells you clearly this is C7, C6, C5, C4, they're all C's. There's nothing else to worry about. Now, if you want to use a C clef like you would the old-fashioned F clef, the old bass clef, then you have what we call a low C clef, because the number is written in the line below the high clef. The high would be written here, and the low here. These are the low clefs. The C clefs can be high or low. You could put that 4 here if you want to. You could put that 3 here. And then you would read that clef just as you would my high C clefs, or just as you would a treble clef. It's really, really simple. And this is just a quick overview. We can discuss it more later if you want to. If not, I'll forget about it. And we will move on to my 2 remaining things that I want to talk about. Scales and chords. Because we already covered Stradella reed recognition. We already covered that in several videos. So now we can move forward. So thanks for listening to that part. And we'll see you soon, I hope. Good night.